Excuse me, I have something to say. This is the podcast where we have real and open conversations about life and everything it throws our way. I'm your host, Shaun Philip Naylor. Join me each episode as I chat with inspiring people who also have something to say. You can join in on the conversations or contact me directly through the show's official channels, Instagram and Twitter at excuseme_pod, Facebook and YouTube, search Excuse Me, I Have Something to Say, or our official website, excusemeihavesomethingtosay.com. As always, all links are embedded into the show notes for you, and if you are listening through Apple or iTunes, don't forget to rate and review the show. Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of season 2 of Excuse Me. Can you even believe it? Can you believe it? Here we all are, and somehow we managed to survive that year that was 2020. Now, I'm going to start the show with a little shout out with a happy birthday, happy first birthday to this very podcast. Our first episode went to air almost 12 months ago to the day, launching on Wednesday, the 8th of April, 2020. A little podcast came to light that was here to help you get through those hump days. This year, it will be the same. Every second Wednesday, guys, don't forget to tune in. Coming up this season on the show, we'll continue to introduce you to some pretty interesting, amazing, and inspiring people from all over. We'll continue to ask, listen, and add to what we know to better understand our fellow humans and their own unique experiences on this planet that we all share. As last year, the immortal words of Ben Lee became a global mantra, we're all in this together. And just a side note, if you fancy hearing what Mr. Ben Lee's thoughts are on that very topic, you can go listen to his episode on my good friend and incredible journalist, Daniel Johnson's podcast. It's called Artist to Fan. Thank you, Dan. For episode 1, though, of Excuse Me, season 2, we're stripping off our clothes and we're heading out into nature, spreading our arms and putting our cheeks to the wind as I have a chat with Brendan Jones from Get Naked Australia. Brendan is the founder of the body positive movement Get Naked Australia. What started off as a bit of a laugh has actually turned into a massive, massive social media presence where Brendan uses naturism, or the act of being naked in nature, to help improve people's body confidence. Get Naked Australia now runs a multitude of events, including hikes, beach days, harbour cruises, and now even naked yoga, where people can celebrate the bodies that they were given and participate clothes free. Brendan, thank you for coming on the show. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, can't complain. Got the day off, so that's always good.
Very nice.
You are the founder of Get Naked Australia.
Yep.
How did that come about? Because you guys have got a lot of followers. It's becoming quite a big movement, really. How did it all start?
It definitely, I had no intention of it ever becoming like this. I've just sort of followed where it's taken me. But it originally started, I started going bushwalking and hiking with some friends, and we'd often take up the challenge of finding the most secluded swimming spots we could. And as you do when no one else is around, you just strip off all your clothes and jump in and have a swim. And it was addictive. It was so much fun, and it just felt really natural. Then I started to get some nice photos of me with my arms in the air and bum to the camera with a nice scenic background. And I got 12 photos in all different locations, and I put them in a calendar for my wife for Christmas. And it was a bit of a laugh, and everyone thought it was pretty funny. And me being a little bit of an extrovert, I was like, cool, well, I might throw these on Instagram and call it Get Naked Australia. So I did that. And then within a couple of weeks, people started sending in their own photos, and grew in following very, very quickly. And yeah, then it sort of started to go down the body positivity track, where sort of people were saying this naked in nature concept of just nuding up and going for a swim was really helping them with their body image. And we had, contacts from a number of people with, eating disorders, rape victims, lots of different people with issues with their body. And it was saying how this concept helped them. So then I just started doing that and saying, hey, send your photo in, send your story in, and we'll spread the word about how this naked in nature concept is helping people. And it got picked up in the media, and then it just blew up into this huge thing. So yeah.
It's funny when you talk about helping people with it, and of course that's something you stumbled upon.
Yeah.
You mentioned people who have been victims of domestic violence,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing, who are being able to reclaim their bodies.
Yeah.
Um, how much do you see of that? I know you say, you've got people sending things in, but how much of it falls in that sort of line of helping people?
To be honest, we have a mixture of, we want to keep the page really fun because that's part of the appeal. So if it focuses too much on that storytelling of those unfortunate circumstances that people have found themselves in, I think it does lose that appeal. What we try to do is create a fun, new, enjoyable concept to tackle a really, really serious problem. So we keep the page very fun, and most people that send in photos are just having a laugh, or it's a challenge for them, or it's a bit of fun. But yeah, we do get probably 10% of the submissions that we get in are from people that have had trauma or have had mental health issues or eating disorders about their body. So we try and get them out there straight away.
Yeah.
But to try and reach more people, but I can't say it's the bulk of the submissions, no.
But it must feel really good knowing that, just by you having a laugh and, enjoying yourself, that you've be able to help people reclaim, their bodies and even their minds to a degree, because people who are victims of those circumstances, it must just be really empowering for them and for yourself to know that you've put something out there that is helping the world.
Yeah, definitely. And the best thing for me was there was no intention for that. It just sort of moved in that direction, and then all of a sudden I'm getting these emails from people, and I'm talking to people about these issues and how this has helped them, and it is very humbling for me, and super empowering for them. I mean, empowerment comes in all different shapes and forms, and if getting your gear off with some friends and going for a swim empowers you, then great. I definitely want to be the one that promotes that and spreads that message to a lot of different people.
I've got a new episode of the podcast that's set to be recorded soon, and it is actually all about body positivity.
Yep.
How have you found doing your events and everything that you do, even maybe just feedback from the page and things like that, of, I guess, people freeing their minds up and freeing themselves up to overcome the, I guess, sexualization of being naked in nature, or just being naked in general?
Yeah, definitely. I think it is. I think for people that have never experienced social nudity, it is so easy to lump it in that, oh, this is a sexual event, because I guess what we see in the media and everywhere really is that nudity is fine if it's sexual, and nudity is fine if it's really artistic. There's no middle ground where you can just be naked and be with your mates and have a swim or have a beer and just be naked socially. So people generally look at that situation and think, oh, well, it's either an orgy or it's a real hippie circle. Like that, what we found with our events is we get people from all walks of life. Really interesting enough, we attract a lot of young professionals that live very stressful working weeks, and they come to events and they just absolutely let go. But until you're in that context of being surrounded by other naked people with no sexual context, it is it's like a light bulb moment in your head, and it's like, wow, this can exist, and no one's jumping all over each other. It's just normal, but without clothes. And recently we had we did 2 harbor cruises in Sydney over the last summer, and the overwhelming comment from a lot of the women that came, because we always keep the gender balance, was that it's so nice to be around good men that aren't hitting on them, that aren't staring them up and down. They're just normal, as if it was a pub or a beach, and they said that was really empowering to just be around good-natured men. So yeah, it's really, really cool.
That's awesome. It's funny, isn't it, that those are the sorts of comments that people, particularly women, have to, they have to say that. Like they shouldn't, like people should just be good by nature, but they're not.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really cool that you've been able to get all of these people together. And again, even just making other, more women feel empowered, and that, they're not subject to by their bodies. It's just, a body is a body at the end of the day. You mentioned that you did the 2 Sydney cruises. What other sorts of things have you guys done since the page took off?
The main thing we did originally was start group hikes. I mean, because that was the concept, was you get out in nature and you strip off and take a photo, and then just through people sending in photos, we had a lot of people from the Sydney Wollongong region, because that's where I'm from. And they said, "Oh, why don't we get together and go for a hike there?" And we met all these people from Instagram, and then we formed what we called the GNA community of people. And yeah, we started doing lots of hikes, swims, particularly in summer. We do like nude beach days. But now this year, it was meant to be last year, but then COVID happened and ruined the world. But then this year, we've started to shift into doing more harbour cruises. We're launching naked yoga in Sydney tonight, actually. We just did a GNA retreat, which was a place very secluded, where everyone just was close free for the whole weekend. There was swimming, hiking, yoga, meditation, acro, lots of games, a formal catered dinner. And then later in the year, we're launching travel, where we've linked with a couple of tour companies, one in the Great Barrier Reef up at Mission Beach, and they're doing skinny dipping snorkeling tours and remote island naked camping. And then we've got another company out of Darwin that is going to be doing skinny dipping road trips, where they basically leave from Darwin and go around to all of the secluded swimming holes in the outback, and people can strip off and jump in for a swim close free. So yeah, lots of cool things happening for GNA.
Yeah, that's awesome. What you mentioned, the naked yoga, and I'm sure it was a comment on there on one of the posts that you posted about it. And it was, I guess, unintentionally funny, but somebody commented about their concerns. It was a male, about their concerns of if they might get an accidental arousal when they're there. And I'm assuming it was you that responded to the comment about how it's just not a sexual thing. You must get some very interesting, I guess, comments or messages sent to you about that sort of thing.
Yeah, the erection question's very, very common. And I think, like I said before, if you look at that sort of naked spectrum where it's either artistic or sexual, most people think that if they're in the environment surrounded by, people that they are attracted to, they are going to get aroused. But again, contextually dependent. It just doesn't happen. And I mean, it's very hard to explain to people who haven't been in that environment, but you're not there to have sex with people. You're not there to be turned on by people. You're just there to be naked. So, in 5 years of being surrounded by naked people at beaches and at events, I've never seen it happen. So it really just doesn't. But because of that, people aren't very educated in the whole naturist culture in Australia and in the Western world, really. You do get a number of strange questions. Like I had one in that same forum where we did a bit of a Q&A. One person asked, is it okay to comment on the nature of people's genitals and give them positive comments? And it's like, would you do that at a pub? Would you do that clothed? Would you do that? And it's like, no, you don't walk around and say, hey man, nice looking penis. Like it just doesn't happen. So, but again, it comes down to education, and people just have no idea what it's like to be in this situation. So they sort of make assumptions.
Yeah. That actually, while we're just talking about that sort of thing, you posted what I found to be a really important conversation on your Instagram recently. And it was about the cultural diversity or potentially lack of cultural diversity in Australian naturism. Um, can you share with the listeners what that was about, what you were getting to in that post?
Yeah, so one of the guys in our group, Darren, he's from New York originally, moved out to Australia, and he's one of the only Black naturists in our group. And we sort of struck up a conversation, and we're like, well, why? Why does this happen? And one issue that Darren spoke about was the black male penis issue that amongst Western culture is that there's the assumption that all Black men have a huge penis, and he thinks that is one of the factors that would limit Black men in particular from going to a nude beach, because they think if they take off their clothes, people are going to stare at them and try and see a big black penis. And it's like, and we just sort of talked about where does this myth come from, and the negative effects that that's having on cultural diversity in Australia. I mean, other that's Black men, but I mean, we struggle with cultural diversity, and we often get criticized on the page for not showing enough cultural diversity, but it's a submission-based page, so we can only put up what we get sent in, and we're trying to promote that amongst different cultures and different races. There's a number of factors, sort of like religion and cultural practices, that are going to limit a lot of people from getting involved, but we're doing what we can, and we're just trying to break down that stigma. And Darren's insights into that were really, really interesting and really important. So the full interview is actually in our magazine that we release quarterly, and it's a very interesting read.
And how do people get this magazine?
On our website. So we're releasing one per quarter. The first volume's free to get in and just have a read. It is a little bit rough, if I'm being honest. It was the first time we've done it. The later editions are a little bit better. It's $7.50, so pretty cheap, and it's about 85 pages long, which is the magazine includes interviews with influential naturists. It includes 8 to 10 great hiking spots, secluded hiking spots around the country. We do reviews of events. We do venue promotion, so places that if you want to go and get your gear off for the weekend, some quite public, some are quite secluded, where if you just want to go with your partner and strip off for the weekend, you can. So we're just trying to promote naturism in Australia, because I think we're a very large country with a very small population. We have the best beaches in the world. People should be naked everywhere all the time. Obviously, being respectful, but it's like, why are we so prudish? We should be enjoying this more. And I have this theory that everyone enjoys being naked, and I'm just creating a platform for people to express that in a safe, enjoyable way. So the magazine helps do that.
Do you find that you get a lot of people that are overly body conscious? I know for myself, like, you're right, I love being naked. It's great. Yep. We're born that way. It's just the way we are, it's just a body. And I say that, and I promote body positivity all the time, but then I'll look at my own body and I'll be like, okay, you've got a bit of a wobbly belly happening. Like, you're not ripped, and everybody expects guys to be ripped and girls to have a certain look about them as well. Do you find that you get a lot of people who are just, I guess, on the cusp, like they want to take the leap and do it, and but they just don't because of the societal pressures to look a particular way?
Absolutely. That's my market. I mean, we've within the community group there's a lot of people that would come to the cruise, and we've done it before, and we all start out that way, basically, with the exception of a few. We've all got our body hang-ups, but it's sort of like exposure therapy. Once you get into that environment, you see people of all shapes and sizes, all bits and bobs, all colors. It's like, wow, we're normal, cool. And it's such a let go of all those body hang-ups. They do creep back over time, but then the more you come to events and expose yourself to groups of people in a social scenario where no one's judging you, no one looks at you up and down and looks at your bits and bobs and says, ooh, it's all in your head. So once you can sort of get out of that mindset by coming to these things, it's a massive game changer. But the hard part for me is I put in, so much effort to these events, and I know what they can do to people, but getting them over the line is so hard. It's so hard to get them there. Once they come once, they keep coming, but it's just breaking down those barriers of actually getting them to come. and honestly is such a game changer for their mental health and body issues. But yeah, getting them over the line is my challenge. And I think that's most people, like most people that follow the page, they obviously have an interest in it. Sure, there's plenty of people that follow the page to like some good looking bums, but I think the majority of people want to actually take the leap and get involved, where they're being held back by, societal inhibitions that are in their head. So that's my challenge, and I'm doing everything I can. And I can guarantee if you do come to an event, you will keep coming. You will love it. So capturing that market is
So
the
how do
goal
you
with the whole page.
how do you do it? Is it just by sort of encouragement? You're obviously like you're very active on the page when people comment, like, and share posts and that sort of thing. So of course that's great encouragement. But how do you, I mean, is it just exposure and that sort of thing to try to get more and more people across the line? Or do you, I don't
Yeah,
want to say target people, but do you know what I mean?
it is exposure. And I guess G&A is basically in you can break it into two parts. There's the public platform, which is the social media, the YouTube channels, the magazine, all of that stuff, which is education and awareness and getting it out there for people. But the way we actually run our events is through a private community. Where everyone is screened and vetted before coming to events, because as we know, there's a number of people in the naturist world that are there for their own sexual fantasies under the guise of naturism. So we basically have a closed group where everyone gets questions, and they have to be invited in either by me or the admin team from the public page, or by a friend or a person already in the group. So that's sort of some way we get people over the line, in that this is a safe group. Everyone has been screened and checked by an administrator. So if you do come to an event, you're not going to get hit on. You're not going to get stared up and down. You're going to be in a positive, encouraging environment. For our big events like the cruises and hikes, we often have a bring a friend scenario, which is particularly important for the women. They often feel like they need to bring a friend to sort of get them over the line. Whereas the single men never seem to bring friends. It's a really weird dynamic. They seem to come alone. And I think that could be sort of that toxic masculinity component. They're not going to tell their mates, hey, who wants to come on the naked cruise with me? Whereas the women will be like, who wants to come on the naked cruise with me? This is
Yeah.
going to be awesome. That's a weird dynamic. So we offer safety. We offer bringing a friend, and we often have what we call like team leaders, or representatives or ambassadors, where we try and have people from the gay community. We often have women representatives, where that if someone's got concerns, being a marginalized group, they can chat to those people, and then they can sort of reinforce to them that GNA is for everyone. It is a diverse environment. It's not just a group of straight men hanging out like you would see at most nude beaches. It is diverse, and we do welcome everyone. So
That's
a few
awesome.
steps in place.
So why should people experience naturism?
Uh, Great question. Because it teaches you that you're normal, that you're healthy, that all of the mental health issues that you have about your body are all in your head. That naturism is about being naked, not being seen naked, right? So it's you realize in these environments, once you strip off, so you got to get there first, which is the hard part. Then you got to strip off when you get there, and within 10 seconds you realize that you're naked around other naked people, and not one person's looking at you. No one cares what you look like. And once you're in that environment, to think, wow, I've spent X amount of years worrying about how I look, and now I'm in an environment where everyone could be looking at me and judging me, and they're not. I think that's just a huge game changer for your mental health and how you look at your body. So I would encourage anyone and everyone to get involved.
That's awesome. And what do you get out of it? Like, what, obviously you've always enjoyed being naked in nature. You did your calendar for your wife. But
Mhm.
what is it that you get out of, firstly, being naked in nature? And then I guess secondly, what is it you get out of what you've created now?
For me, it's the feeling of skinny dipping is just fantastic. And again, it has to be felt to be understood by people, but I get to do that regularly, and that's great for me. But the thing that I love the most is meeting new people, and welcoming people into this new concept that they probably never experienced before. And we walk away from every event that I run, all of the new people just message me and ring me and say, mate, that was unbelievable. Like, I can't wait to do more. And that's the drive for me. There is obviously, I'm trying to I love this and I want to do this as a full-time job if I can. So I do need to start generating some revenue and profit to be able to dedicate time to do this. But at the moment, I'm still in the building phase. We've got a really big group here in Sydney, and the focus is branching that out to Melbourne and the Gold Coast and North Queensland and Adelaide, Perth. I want to have this running everywhere where we run yoga, hikes, retreats, and cruises all around the country. It is a lot of work, and it's something that has been tried by many people in the past and hasn't worked. But I think what we've got is working, and it's the challenge, and the challenge for me, and then meeting new people along the way is the driving factors.
Yeah. You mentioned that other people in the past have tried to do something similar to what you're doing, and that it hasn't worked out. Why do you think that is? Do you think maybe the world might be a little bit more ready for it now?
I think with online attraction of body positivity and a bit of a rebellion against the perfect figure, the ripped men, the super slim with big booties women that you see all on social media. There is a resistance against that, and I think Naturism offers a way to just to battle that and just be normal and just be happy in the skin you're in. But if you look at what I found when I started Get Naked Australia was that there is a naturist culture in Australia already. And that by that, I mean, existing naturist venues, naturist clubs and events. And I'm not sure where it went wrong along the way, but they have not been able to attract younger people to their events. Now, I think part of that might be because venues are just outdated. They have a club model where you have to become a member to join. So if you want to go and experience it for a day, you're not really going to join a club. They're predominantly retired people, so definitely the older generation. So if you're a young couple in your 20s, why are you going to go and spend a weekend with 60 and 70-year-olds naked at a venue? Some of these places enforce nudity, which I'm very opposed to. I think if you're on a body positive journey and someone's telling you must remove your underwear, that's horrible. Like I don't agree with that at all. And from what I found recently is that what other groups have tried to do is the gender balance. They've got the gender balance wrong. There is a huge influx of super keen single men keen to get involved in naturism. And if you have an event with 30 single dudes coming and 3 women, the women aren't coming. So we've made a very, very big component of our group is keeping that gender balance and keeping it quite even, because women in an environment where there's more men clothed are generally uncomfortable. When they're naked, they're going to be more uncomfortable. So we make sure we keep that as close to 50-50 as possible. It's like, the second last cruise we did, we actually had 70% women, which was incredible to see. But yeah, we try and keep 50-50 as much as we can, and I think that's the way forward, and that's how we've been able to grow organically. Other components might be financially. If you're looking to make money off a social group, and you've got these hundreds and hundreds of single guys keen, and they have to pay a membership, cool, you're probably going to say yes. But then at events, you're not going to be able to run events because you're only going to have men at events. So I think gender balance is probably the biggest thing, and an inability of the existing naturists and existing clubs and organizations around the country, their inability to attract young people. So we're keeping our group, we don't have an age limit, but we're definitely focused towards the younger market, and we are keeping it as diverse as possible.
So you mentioned that you've got an event launching tonight in Sydney.
Yep.
What is your next big event after this one? What have you got coming up? I know you told us sort of like a brief of what you got coming up, but what's the next big one?
Yep. The next big one in Sydney is going to be another harbour cruise. with it's a limit of 50 people, and it's a drumming circle as well as a skinny dip and clothing optional one. The biggest event is going to be out of Darwin. We've actually got 3 naturist skinny dipping road trips happening across June and July, which is super, super exciting. It's the first time we've done it. I can't wait to see how that happens. And over sort of into spring and summer, the rest of this year, we're going to be looking to do more retreats. And the big peak event is this Harbour Cruises in Sydney. Now, we often get people saying, "Come to Adelaide, come to Brisbane," and we just don't have the people or the contacts up there yet to be able to do that. Like, for example, out of Brisbane, we contacted a number of cruise companies and said, "Hey, this is huge in Sydney. We're getting 100 people to these cruises. Would you guys want to be involved?" They're like, "Oh, no, not a brand that we want to associate with." So we don't have the capacity to do it. So come to Sydney. We'll be doing a lot more in summer this year. The goal for the December one this year is to actually have 250 people, an inflatable regatta, DJs, and about 6 catamarans. So
awesome.
It's going to be a big party.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. How can people get involved? Even maybe people who are in different states who want to become an ambassador and help you grow.
Yeah. Look, generally, get in contact with us is step number 1. We do have a screening process, and unfortunately, we do have to positively discriminate against all of the guys. We have to keep the balance, and I hate that I have to do that, but if we don't keep that balance, the whole movement fails. But reach out if you're an avid hiker, adventurer, nudie, and you want to get involved and help spread the word. Reach out and let's have a conversation. And I don't like saying this, but particularly females, we definitely need more female role models in the naturist world to reach more of that female audience. And I can tell you from experience, it is so empowering to be able to welcome these new people into what we do. And it's very humbling and it's so exciting. So reach out on Instagram, send us a message via our website, our contacts form, or just send us an email and let's have a conversation.
Awesome. I will make sure that in the show notes for this episode that all of your social links and everything, your email address is all embedded in there. So if anybody is listening and wants to reach out and experience what GNA is all about, I can definitely point some people in your direction.
Perfect.
But for now, Brendan, thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed not only having the conversation with you, but also our interactions have been great. And you've been very understanding with my technical difficulties. And your socials are incredible. So keep up the good work. And, should I be brave enough, I will potentially come to one of your events.
Do it,
Just
mate. You won't regret
get over those body issues.
Yep.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Anytime. Cheers. So guys, that's it for our first episode back. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I hope that you enjoyed the show. If my chat with Brendan has piqued your interest and you want to start getting involved or getting naked in nature yourself, you can get in touch with Brendan and the team through their official website, getnakedaustralia.com.au, or check out the page that started it all over on Instagram. Search Get Naked Australia, and I highly recommend giving them a follow as they post great body positive content and they share all of their upcoming events through this channel. A massive thank you once more to Brendan. What a great guy doing incredible work. And thank you guys, the listeners, for being patient while I was on hiatus. And thank you for tuning in again. I'll see you next time.